What's up, people? Course here, coming at you with another Paragon video. Today we're going to be looking at how to counter the new hero Morigesh, because I hear a lot of people saying that she's OP, you can't beat her, blah blah blah. So we're going to talk about how to counter her. I'm not going to go over every possible counter for her, but I'm going to go over a few, some heroes that counter her, some techniques that counter her, just so we can put that little argument to rest, because I honestly don't think she's OP. I think that she makes you very intentional with your picks now, with your build. You have to think a little bit more with your engagements, but I definitely don't think she's OP. I think she can be easily countered. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to go over my logic here, and then yeah, let me know what you think about it. So first and foremost, when you're thinking about Morigesh, you have to remember her range is one of her biggest weaknesses right there. That's one way you counter her. You know that she has to get within a certain range to get you with her, with her mark. So keep that in mind. It's not like she can hit you from anywhere on the map like her ultimate can. Her range is kind of poor, actually. She has to really get up to you to hit you. So that's one way to counter her. Just know where you are in position to her and realize that she does have that speed boost. And keep that in mind when you're playing her. Play her at a distance, pick a character that you know can poke out and that can harass just like she can. Secondly, she has a terrible escape. So you know that she has to get herself, like, positioning is big for her. So she has to get herself out of place in order to get to you anyway. So make sure that you're watching what she's doing and then counter her that way, because you know she's going to overextend if she wants to get to you. Now, at higher elos, you might get some people with some very, very great strategies. But for the most part, she's going to be overextending from time to time. So punish her when she does that. So her last biggest weakness is that she's susceptible to CC because she doesn't have an escape. The only way that she's getting away from you is if she literally runs away from you, and she gets a little bit of a speed boost. But if you're Chimera, Richter, anybody with any type of pull or grab or jump, you're probably going to catch her. So just catch her when she's overextending, get her when she's trying to be aggressive, and punish her for it. And that's the best way I've seen to work with her, especially if I'm playing with like Gadget or Bellica. If she overextends, I knock her up, I throw my mine on her, boom, she goes down. Now, let's get into some heroes or some classes that definitely counter her here. Now, when you're in the draft, if you want to talk about countering Morigesh, you have to be intentional with your picks. Just like I said in the beginning of this video. You can't just pick whatever your favorite hero is and be like, oh, well, I love Iggy, so I'm going to go Iggy and Scourge. Because Iggy is not the hero of choice, especially not against Morigesh. So, you have to be intentional. You need some strong support or somebody who's willing to play support, first of all. Support, in my opinion, is what shuts down Morigesh. Now, to be more specific, I'm going to point out a couple of heroes that should get like honorable mentions. So, the first hero is Decker. Decker is a great support character, and she has stuns, she has a fence that can contain Morigesh. She's one of the best heroes, I think, to counter Morigesh, because she is so susceptible to CC, and if she does get caught out, which she usually does, you can punish her by isolating her from the rest of her team. So that's why I say Decker is one of the best heroes to go against Morigesh. Now, the second hero that I think in the support class that can really counter Morigesh is definitely Muriel, because Muriel has a couple of things going for her. Firstly, and most importantly, she has the shields. The shields make it so that you negate a lot of the damage that Morigesh can do to you, whether that be the dots, whether that be her ultimate, whatever the case may be. Now, on top of her ult as well, because the ult, you can say, yeah, that's a shield too, but the ult is a big thing as well. If you see that somebody's about to get hit with that ultimate and you know it's coming, you can go ahead and pre-ult and stop all that. It takes timing and communication, but it can really make it so that Morigesh's ult is not really that important. Like I say, shields is a big thing, and later on I'm going to talk about some specific cards that also help with that specifically. But I want to talk about two more heroes here, and I'm not going to put up a picture of them because they're less honorable mentions than, well, I shouldn't say honorable mentions, but they're honorable mentions. There we go. They didn't make the rap like Decker and Muriel, but they're still good. Those heroes that I think also counter Morigesh pretty well are Narbash, Steel, and Richter. Now, Narbash, I say this because if you do catch her out with your ultimate, you're going to knock her up. You're going to keep her out of the fight for a minute. You can keep her from doing her ultimate, which is awesome. So that's why I say Narbash is also one of those characters who can really counter her. Plus, he does have a stun as well. The only thing is that with Narbash, it's about positioning as well. If you don't catch her in that ult, you know, Narbash can be easily taken down by her mark and her ult, of course. So that's why I say positioning. But he does still have some of the good things that Decker has. It's just that he doesn't have defense. He doesn't have the way to really isolate her from the team like that. But Narbash is definitely the third best, I think, on the supports. Next, I put Steel and Richter are kind of a toss-up. The reason I say Steel is because once he gets to level 5, he has his ultimate, and that can really take her out of the fight. That can do a lot of damage to her. If you can still get the Bulldoze ult combo, you know, that can take her out of the fight for a while. That'll keep her from ulting on your teammates. That'll keep her from doing anything, really. So that's why I say Steel is Steel is definitely a good pick. The only thing is, after his nerf, he is not, you know, quite as deadly as he used to be. Now, Richter, here's this thing. If Richter gets his pull off, she's done. If he gets his pull and he gets his ult, that combo, it's a wrap. She's done, especially if you have your teammates with you. The only thing is, so many people miss those pulls. So that's why he's at the bottom of the list of counters for her as far as support characters go. But if you're good at getting your pulls, Richter can dominate. Now, let's talk about another character. We'll talk about two more characters that can really shut Morigesh down, in my opinion. So let's look at Grimm.exe. Now, I know a lot of people have kind of been sleeping on Grimm because in the new meta, he's not been the carry of choice. That is true. But the reality is, Grimm is actually a pretty good counter for Morigesh, because even though he's not the best carry, he does still do decent damage. He has an ult that isn't global, but if you're in his eyesight and fairly close, you know, he can finish you off. But more importantly, he has this shield, right? He has the shield and he has the slow. So let's talk about those real quick. Now, when she does her ult, if Grimm times it right, because it does give you warning. I mean, you see it coming. So if he times it right, he can counter her ultimate. He can completely nullify it. So that's one of the reasons that he's so dangerous. She can't really finish a good Grimm off as long as he's cautious of what's going on. Now, the second thing is, if she does fail to kill him and it turns into a 1v1 against Grimm, I mean, he has his slow, so he can nullify her speed boost. You know, she's not going to just get away by running, because he's going to stop that. And he hits hard enough to where late game, he can, maybe 4-shot her, 3-shot her, if depending on how you're building. So, Grimm is actually a really good counter to her as far as carries goes. The rest of the carries, of course, can kill her. It's just about hitting your shots. I think that's what it comes down to. You know, hitting your shots and making sure you're positioning yourself correctly so that you're not, you know, taking too much damage from her, I guess. But Grimm is definitely the carry of choice if you're going to try to kill her. Second choice would be Murdoch. And the reason I say that is because when she does her ultimate, she freezes there for a minute and while she casts it, kind of like Countess. So if you're aware of her, if you're being very cautious of her, you can end her every time she does that. Because usually when Morigesh is doing her ultimate, she's weak because she has to get in there, really poke out at the enemy. And usually she takes some pretty good damage while doing this. So if you're paying attention as Murdoch, you can end her every time that she does that, just about, as long as you have vision on her, of course. So those two are the carries that I think counter her the best. Now let's talk about a jungle that I think counters her very well, and that is going to be my boy Crunch. Crunch is a great counter to her because he does really good damage. Actually, Crunch hits you very hard, very fast, which is good. You want to give her, or you want to burst her down if you can, but on top of him being able to hit hard and fast, he also has that knockup, which keeps you from countering him, right? That knockup is what's key here. If you knock her into the air, she can't hit you with her mark. She can't do her ult. She can't do any of that. So Crunch, especially if your team is somewhat coordinated, he can really take her out of a fight, you know, because you can argue that she is a high priority target because she can definitely take down your carry. So Crunch is a great counter to her. Now I want to look at a couple of cards that are great at countering Morigesh. And the first one that I'm going to start out with is a great card for any support character. and that is going to be the quenching scales. And I'm going to put a picture of that up right here. The quenching scales is awesome, and that's because not only does it give you a heal, but it also gives you 21 basic armor. So, more importantly though, the heal. It gives you 225 health back, and that is amazing because Morigesh's ult may hit for 500 in-game-ish. It could hit a little bit harder, but let's say 500. Getting half of that back is going to keep you from dying, pretty much. So as long as you coordinate it well, you communicate with your team, quenching scales can definitely save your carry, save your teammate. So make sure you put that in if you're trying to counter Morigesh. Stasis Gym is going to be the next card to counter Morigesh. This one is awesome because it doesn't give you health back or anything like that. It simply keeps you from taking any damage for 2.5 seconds. This card is amazing because as long as you you can't really mess it up. As long as you time it correctly, her ult is completely useless against you. So Stasis Gym is also a great card. It is 7 points, but it's worth it. It will nullify her, at least in trying to kill you. The next card we're looking at is called Barrier Will, and we're also going to take a look at Honor of the Pure. So Barrier Will first. This card basically gives you a team shield at the cost of 100 mana. The team shield at max level, so level 15, gives you a 500 shield. That will pretty much nullify all the damage that Morigesh can do, depending on how she builds, because she can do a little over 500, she can do a little under 500. But you get my point. That the team shield will make her pretty much useless. You just have to make sure you time it correctly. Now, also to mention, it is an 8-point card, so it is kind of expensive, but it's worth it if it can save your teammates. So that's another card that can counter her. And the last card that I want to talk about is called Honor of the Pure. This is also a great card that can counter Morigesh, and that's because it does the same thing as Barrier Will, just that it doesn't give you the additional basic armor and ability armor, but it gives you a team shield, and that at max level is 500. Now, even if you equip these cards at level 10, that's still a good shield that can nullify Morigesh's damage. So Barrier of Will and Honor of Pure are great cards for countering her. Just make sure that you're close to your actual allies so they can actually benefit from it, and you'll make it so that she can't do anything. Now, because her ult is what really makes her dangerous. Her slow is not that bad, her escape is not that bad. It's her ult and her hex that does good damage. So if you make it so that she can't get to them, that she can't do that damage, you basically nullify her, you take her out of the game. Now people, that's pretty much what I have for my Morigesh countering. Some honorable mentions, of course, were like Chimera, Rampage in the jungle. These are all characters that can put up a very good fight against Morigesh. I didn't mention them because for Rampage you would have to build a decent amount of health to really nullify her, because his regen is good, but it's not anything crazy. Plus he doesn't have the damage to really burst her down. He does have a pretty good stun though, so if you're coordinated, he can do it. Chimera, I didn't mention him because while he does have some good burst damage, he does have some good stickability. He's also, as you all know, once he's in a fight, if he overextends, he's done. So the reason I picked Crunch out of that is because Crunch has a pretty good escape. So people, hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and also share the video out. Maybe somebody else will get some benefits from it. Also, I'm curious to know, who thinks that Morigesh is OP? Who thinks that she's going to get a nerf soon? I don't think she needs it, honestly, but I think it might come, especially if people are not satisfied playing against her. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think there's a nerf coming, or do you think she's in a pretty good spot? Also, drop in the comments if you made it to the end of my video, because this one's fairly long, 14 minutes. I usually don't do videos this long. Most of them are about 5 minutes. So if you made it to the end of the video, type, I don't know, type I'm still here in the comments. I'd like to see that. As always, people, thank you for viewing the video. I appreciate it. It means a lot. I appreciate you. So we're going to go ahead and end the video here. We will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.